Okay, sorry. So I am sharing my screen. I hope this is visible.
Yeah, it's visible. Saaz, it's
Lovely.
visible.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thanks. Just a brief introduction. I have over 23 years of experience, and fortunate to lead various IT teams and various different positions, different industries. Been teaching for over 10 years, and I am an authorized instructor for several courses, including I-Square and ISACA. That's my brief introduction. Ravi, I'll talk to you more about it next time. But I wanted to quickly talk about CISM today, just to give you a brief idea what do you expect from CISM, who should take the CISM exam, and maybe even a brief introduction to some of the concept that you may need to understand. Just a few basic, I would say, taste of what you can expect from CISM and as an information security manager. Now, this particular course comes from ISACA. ISACA has been known for various credentials, including visa, CRISC. All of them are absolutely valuable courses. I mean, CISM is one of them. And
What is clean net?
yeah, if
May I request everyone else to kindly mute. Please request. Yeah.
mute others as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, so in terms of, I think, the credentials which ISACA has, I would highly recommend that you consider maybe all of these certifications. And it's every certificate is actually added a lot of value to my knowledge. Having said that, I kind of agree with what Colonel Subhajit said, that, and I've been a CISM CISSP a long time back, and I also thought CISM wasn't a very useful one. What to do CISM? But when I took CISM course, it really broadened my knowledge, because the topics covered here is much into depth, which actually makes a lot of sense when I'm dealing with my everyday information security management. So, anyways, I'll quickly talk about it, and so I'll just quickly take you through the exam, what to expect, and again, at any point in time, you have any questions, please feel free to put your question on the chat window, or you can also speak on the mic. And also, I will take you through some of the scenarios, questions, what to expect, and I am happy to take a Q&A at the very end. I suppose we have about an hour's time, right? So you can confirm, Subhajit? Yes. So the exam, it's okay. So who should take this exam? Now, this is a pretty advanced certification. It's not a beginner's course to begin with. It's an advanced course, so at least there's a 5 years of experience required. And this is for somebody who will manage an information security program within the organization. So this covers like not just your technical knowledge, but also your managerial skills and your leadership skills into the role that you're going to play within the organization. So somebody who's going to be looking to advance a career, this is one of those certificates which actually really helps you be able to implement some program, run your team, implement security program within the organization. So this has been around since 2002, almost 20 years now, almost more than 50,000 professionals by now, I think. And so the benefits, you'll find a lot of information again, but this will certainly expand your knowledge. Like I said, I had a CISSP and I thought that was the ultimate. But when I took CISM, it really kind of got into the depths of various aspects of information security management, which really expanded my own knowledge and my own own confidence as well. So there's a lot of demand for courses like the CISM, CISSP, CISA, and various other things. So there is obviously a lot of market for you, right? And many times it's a requirement for your employees and clients. And I always And I always recommend, so if somebody says, do I need a certificate? Do I need to study? Do I need, because I don't play a role, I'm not a manager right now. But and the question is that something that you aspire to be? Because what I've realized is that that it's the opportunities is there. It's always going to come up, and the question is, will you be ready? Right? Are you going to be? Are you ready? So I always say, study for tomorrow. Be ready for tomorrow. And one of my own personal experience is me when I passed the CISSP. That's when I immediately got an opportunity to become a CTO in a company. So that was that. So the question was I was ready for that opportunity to land, and that's something that I will always recommend. Now, the exam process is quite simple. You prepare, you take the exam. Now, you can always take the exam in an exam center, or best part is you can take the exam online as well. It's very simple to take the exam online. You pay the fees, you pass the exam, and so passing the exam doesn't mean you're a CISM yet. There's a small form that you need to fill up. It's very simple. What you only need to prove is that you have the experience. You probably just fill up the details of where you worked, and with some proof, like if you have a certificate, like your past experience certificate, that should suffice. And then once you provide this information, you should be CISM very soon. In the next maybe 5 to 2 weeks. 1 or 2 weeks, you should be CISM certified. Now, there's some question coming up. So the CISM certification, again, you need to be able to maintain it. So the certificate is renewed every 3 years. And to renew it is very simple. You need to earn some CPE points. CPE stands for Continuing Professional Education Points. And it's very simple. It's like approximate 1 hour of self-study earns you about one CPE. So it's about spending 30, 40 hours in self-study in a year. I think that's very minimal. So I think you shouldn't worry about the CPE. There are various opportunities to earn CPEs, like watching a webinar for an hour, or I teach a lot. So that's where I earn CPEs as well. I create content. I'm always studying, taking exams. So I earn those CPEs very easily. And I don't think you'll have a problem with that as well. It's about 40 hours of learning in a year. And there is a small maintenance fee. I think it's about $40, $50. And that's all. And you will be automatically recertified. But you could also lose the certificate. Okay, be careful about it. How? Well, if you don't earn the CPE points, or if you don't pay that maintenance fees, or if you violate some ethical standards from the ISACA, then you probably lose the certificate. And you don't want to do that, right? Your hard-earned certificate, you don't want to lose that. Anyways, I've got some question here on the chat window. Let me try and address that. It says, what do you recommend for a beginner if not seasoned? Okay, that's already addressed. Yes, CEH, Security Plus. Those are some of the questions. Okay. So now the exam preparation, what I would recommend is become familiar with the CISM job practice areas. And that is what I will be trying to do if you join my course, if you plan to join my course. CISM is a very interesting course. The type of question that gets asked is very unique, and you got to be able to understand the type of question. And I'll kind of show it to you like some examples today. And as you got to learn about some of the principles. So this exam is not about the how. So as managers, as senior professionals, you'll be focusing more on the what to do, and more importantly, why to do that. So a simple example, like why? Okay, so in order to protect my network security, what do I need? Maybe a firewall or a IDS, IPS, whatever, right? And the question is, why should I use an IDS or an IPS? Which one should I use? Right? So the why part, that's very important. And we'll understand these concepts in the exam. You'll need to understand about the what and the why, rather than the how. How are we going to configure that IDS IPS? That's not relevant because that's very vendor specific, and that keeps on changing. So that's not relevant for us. It's more about the what and the why that you need to focus on. And that is something which you will have to study, of course, and obviously you can study with me or you can study on your own. And once you do that, I will recommend self-assessment. So ICIRCA has a lot of these questions. They give you these practice questions, almost 1,000 questions, which is, I think, quite sufficient for you to at least prepare. And if you are constantly scoring around, let's say, 70, 80%, consistently, I think that is a good sign that you're ready for the exam. I don't expect anyone to score 100%. It's not possible. But I think 70, 80% on a consistent manner, if you're scoring, it's when you're self-assessing yourself. That is a good sign that you are quite ready for the exam. It has to be an iterative study. So when you learn a particular concept and from domain 1, and by the time you reach domain 4, you'd have forgotten it. So you're going to come back, review, and come back some multiple times so that the information gets registered in your long-term memory, and it becomes part of you, right? So it may require iterative study to understand many of these concepts. Do not cram. Now, this is important. There are several courses I can tell you, you can pass without knowing a single concept just by cramming the questions that are dumps available and so on. This exam, you will fail. Okay? You will fail. I've heard people saying I've done hundreds and thousands of questions, and I still failed. And I asked them a simple question. Explain to me, let's say, a difference between, let's say, least privilege and need to know. A simple example, or being effective or efficient, and so on. If again, so I clearly know that they haven't really understood the concept. So understanding the concept is the only way you're going to pass the exam. Avoid cramming. That's the sure way to fail the exam. All right, and find a study group. Now, Cyber Soldiers has a study group. I think that is something we can join, be part of that. Whether you join the exam, the course or not, but I think we have a study group. You can join that and be part of the group. There are certain other resources. ICIRCA also has that. You can be part of that, and that will keep you motivated, and as well as where you are going. So that is something that I highly recommend as well. Okay. Yeah. So any specific questions, a personal question? I think probably I'll probably take that later on. Okay. What to expect now as a CISM? What are the expectations? And that is described here by the job practice area. The first domain is information security governance. Okay. So this is the bigger picture. Like, information security governance is more about the what and more about the why. Why do we need to have information security? That's the biggest question we're going to answer here. Okay, and also who's responsible for information security governance? What are we expecting from information security governance? So this is a slightly difficult concept. Most people tend to struggle with this concept of information security governance because usually governance is at a much higher level, right? At the highest level, the senior management, the board of directors, they're involved in these kind of matters. But anyways, we'll talk about this in domain 1. I have a few things to discuss on this. We'll discuss it a little later on. I just want to give you a taste of what is to come. Okay. The next topic I think is a really good one is the risk management. So no matter what kind of role that you play, okay, you could be a software developer, you could be a risk analyst, you could be a auditor, whatnot. So risk management is extremely important for everybody to play. And so the course kind of introduces, I would say, into risk management, though it covers quite a bit on risk management. Though I will recommend another course called C-Risk if you are more interested in risk management. That C-Risk covers risk in much more in depth. But here it covers quite a lot. I mean, 20% is quite a lot. So it's a good introduction to risk management from this point of view. And so as an information security manager, one of your key responsibility would be to manage risk for the organization, making sure the risks are within the acceptable levels. And this is again a direct responsibility of the governance. So governance will ensure one of the key aspect of governance is to manage risk. And that is what you will do as information security manager, manage risk for the organization. This is a really good one, information security program. So you'll develop an information security program in order to manage this information security. Like you'll develop policies, standards, guidelines. You will train people. You'll work with various different different individual stakeholders within the organization. So you'll play a very important role as a leader, as a manager, as a technical expert. So you got to combine all of these expertise in developing and managing this information security program here. And finally, you will also have to manage the incidents for the organization. So making sure that incident management is in place, you're able to detect those incidents on time and able to handle those incidents on time, and making sure that it doesn't escalate and become a disaster. So again, this also relates to some of the concepts relating to business continuity and disaster management. So all these three topics, incident management, disaster recovery, business continuity, those are all part of this domain 4. And obviously that is extremely important because one of the key responsibility for you as an information security manager is to minimize business disruptions so that the business can function. It can meet its goals and objectives. So these are 4 domains which are linked. So it kind of flows really nicely, starting with the domain 1, the governance, setting the bigger perspective, the overview, the need for information security, and then you have the risk management, managing your risk, and then developing that security program, and then managing your operations, all these incidents and disasters and so on. So that is, I think, quite a nice range of topics that you will be studying here. Now, if I'm studying CISSP, CISSP covers all of these things, maybe in one or 2 topics. Here we have entire courses dedicated to these topics. So the depth is much more when you are in CISM. So it kind of really helps you implement these concepts in your day-to-day journey. Okay. I know there's a lot of questions, chats coming in. I haven't looked into it. I will probably take a look at that a little later on. So just to give you that some sense of what to expect. Now, one of the key concepts you need to understand is the difference between accountability and responsibility, right? And so let me ask you a question. Okay, let me ask you a question. So what's the difference between accountability and responsibility? You can use the mic, you can use the chat window. Let's do a little interaction and see how it goes.
Responsibilities are actually the roles defined for a particular position, and accountability is after we conduct and responsibility, the magnitude, the way we have performed is something to measure. It's like a measurement of responsibility.
Okay, that's
yeah.
That sounds very good. Thank you, Siddharth. Excellent. Anybody else would like to join in? Let's hear more people. Use chat, use mic. I want more interaction. Come on. Doesn't matter right or wrong. It's just a way to get started, interact, right? Accountability, responsibility.
Hello,
Saurabh.
Sajan. I'm Vinkavandas Saurabh. I think the responsibility is basically from the oneself, and accountability is from the other side.
Okay. So a little
Some
more.
way, not 100%, but yes, more portion is from the other side, accountability.
What do you mean by other side?
Other side means basically from the inspection side, inspector side.
Okay. 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 Very nice. Excellent. Lovely. Who'd like to go next? Come on, let's hear more people. I'm getting different perspectives here. Okay, so fair enough. So the accountability again is usually means that the accountable person is going to be ultimately answerable for the decision made or the activity performed. And responsibility is usually the person who is conducting those tasks, right? So, for example, my team. Okay, so my team is I'm accountable for the work performed by my team, and so I will probably give them work, and they will all be responsible for completing those tasks and work, right? And so and what I do again, my boss might be accountable for me. So that's generally what it means. So at a very basic understanding. And so usually a person who takes the decision maker is usually the person who's also accountable. You need to take accountability for your decisions within the organization. And there are different levels of accountability within the organization. And another very important concept you need to understand, and let's see if somebody can complete my sentence. Okay. Accountability cannot be, let's see who can complete my sentence. Accountability cannot be
transferred.
Excellent. It cannot be transferred. It cannot be shared. It cannot be delegated. So accountability, that is a very key point that you need to understand. And this plays a very important role in management. So whereas responsibility, of course, you can share with different individuals within the organization. So this is the key differences you need to understand as far as the management of and governance is concerned. So basic concept, right? And the CISM goes into a little more detail into who is accountable, who's responsible, and all these concepts. Now, a key question that let me ask you again and see if you can answer this question is, who is accountable for information security governance within the organization? That if something goes wrong, there's a data breach, who is going to be accountable?
Top boss or the top management, whoever is the top boss of the ultimate responsible is the boss.
I think that would be the CISO and the board of directors jointly.
All right, that's a good answer. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think the CISO is the one who will be the one accountable for the actions of his team.
Okay. Very good. Excellent. Anybody else like to try? You can use the mic. You can use a chat window. Okay, that's you can even send it to me in private.
I think information security manager who is directly looking after the governance part, he will be responsible for, or he will be accountable for information security governance.
Okay. Okay, very nice. Now, the so when I say information security governance, and we'll talk about this more later on, and there are obviously different levels of accountability within the governance also. But the overall accountability, the overall accountability will always lie at the very top. And that's, I think some of you mentioned that at the very top correctly. And information security manager will be accountable for certain aspects of security, but the overall accountability would lie at the very, very top. And it depends. So sometimes it depends on the structure of the organizations. Okay, but in the context of information security governance, it will lie with the board of directors or the senior management. For example, some of you may have heard about Cambridge Analytica. Yeah, so when Cambridge Analytica, where I think there was some data breach for Facebook, data was misused. So who had to go to the Senate and answers those difficult questions? Do you remember that? So Mr. Boss himself, he had to go in and answer those difficult questions, though he didn't have answers to much of this question. But at the end of the day, Mr. Mark Zuckerberg, as the, I don't know what his role is, he's the chairperson, he's the CEO, he's the founder, whatever, and obviously ultimately accountable. The accountability lies with him. So he had to go and answer those difficult questions. And that's what it should be. Okay. So the accountability is always at the very top. Now, sometimes you will hear the word accountable or legally responsible or ultimately responsible. These are the kind of words that you may hear, and they all mean the same thing. The context is what you should look into, right? So accountable, legally responsible, ultimately responsible. So it pretty much means the same thing. Even in the exam, they will use the word legally responsible, ultimately responsible. And the answer always is the board of directors and the senior management and so on. And we have to understand a little bit about who they are in the exam. We will discuss this more in detail, but it should always at the very, very top. And I'll talk to you about it a little later on. I've got a case study. I'll discuss this. The question then is, who is responsible for information security within the organization?
That is Chief of Information Security Officer.
All right.
Yeah.
I think everyone is responsible for information security
Why do you say so?
because information is one such thing, and it comes as a responsibility. And if we
Okay.
will combine both, I think it goes with everyone.
All right. Okay. Very nice. Okay. So who is responsible for information security? So say, for example, is a software developer responsible for information security?
I think everyone is responsible for information security.
Okay. Very nice. So a software developer, what is their responsibility? They need to ensure they are using secure coding guidelines, secure coding standards, right? How about auditors? Are they responsible? Yes. Yeah. They're responsible. Yes. So yes, absolutely correct. So everybody is responsible for information security, everyone. And what is the typical responsibility of, let's say, a typical end user? How are they responsible for a typical end user?
Like by changing passwords periodically, like it's a healthy practice to do so. Even the IAM part, like identity and access management, by preventing privilege escalation attacks, like, something like that.
Fantastic. Excellent. Yeah, absolutely correct.
Using passwords that are mixed with alphanumerics and symbols, and the password length and be changed in a particular, can be changed subsequently, maybe 180 days or 60 days or 90 days, depending on the control.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So overall, if I speak generally, everybody should be following the organization security policies and standards and procedures. So whether it's password management, or they're not supposed to share sensitive data with someone else, or they are not supposed to be using USB to copy data, and so on. Whatever those policies are, right? So they need to report on security incidents if they come across something. So yeah, everybody's responsible. Everybody has different responsibilities. In the context of information security manager, will have a major responsibility of developing a information security program and implementing it, running it, and so on. And that's what this course is about. Okay, so understanding what the organization requirement is, and accordingly develop those policies, train people, and get everybody on board, and ensure the risks are being managed, incidents are being handled. And so that's the responsibility of the information security manager. And that's what you will be learning here in this particular course here. So let's try and see some questions. This is one of those questions, the typical CISM questions. I think in this 20 to 30 minutes, you would have now learned enough to answer these questions. Let's see. What I want you to do is answer it to me privately. Just send me ABCD, whatever the answer is. Just send it to me privately, so you don't spoil the fun for others. Okay, just send it to me privately. Let's see if you've kind of understood what I've just discussed. Yeah, send it to me privately. Excellent. Yep, lovely. You can mention ABCD. Yep. Yes, so just send it to me privately. Okay. Again, the keyword here is ultimately responsible. Yeah, that's the keyword here. Ultimately responsible, or they could have used the word legally responsible. Now, everyone is responsible, but who's ultimately responsible? That is the question. Excellent. The ultimate responsibility, if something happens, it always lies. Okay, 10 more seconds. Let's quickly close this. Fantastic. I think most of you are correct, and that's very good. So we just talked about it. The ultimate is the board of directors. So they're at the very, very top. They're all ultimately responsible everything that happens within the organization. Okay, and including the information security and so on. If there's a data breach, again, board of directors and the senior management, they will be held. Like I give an example of that Cambridge Analytica data breach that happened for Facebook, and someone like Mark Zuckerberg had to go and answer those questions in the Senate, in the US Senate. I think this one, everyone should get it right, 100% correct. Let's see. Yeah. So again, write ABCD and send it to me privately on the chat window. Again, in the exam, you will also have limited time, so you'll have to also manage your time management is important. So that is something we'll also have to learn during the training. We'll discuss that later on. But yes, I think most of you are doing very well. I want everybody to participate. Everybody should be able to get this right by now. Okay, 30% have responded correctly. 10 more seconds. Let's close this. We have very limited time. Right. Again, the legal responsibility, as I mentioned before, will always lie at the very top. Legal responsibilities will always lie at the very top. And the answer, again, is the board of directors and the senior management. Right? Now, these are the kind of concepts you will need to understand when you are dealing with governance. And like I said, this is usually a very difficult concept for most people to understand. Hey, who is the board of directors? I've never interacted with them. Who are they? Or senior management, and so on. Anyway, so these are the kind of concepts you will have to learn. Okay, and so I think there's yeah, I think that's it. So let me quickly and that is lacking time. So let me quickly take you through a case study, and I'll share this with you as also. This is a case study from a Target company. I hope all of you know Target company, one of the biggest retail store in the US. It was hacked in 2013. And let's understand what happened. Okay. So the first thing, there was a phishing attack against this physio. Let me select this. So this physio mechanical service. Now they're managing some HVAC system for the organization, and their system was hacked. There was a phishing attack, and some Trojan was installed on this system. Now, when this person went inside the Target network to fix some HVAC system, whatever, the malware then spread across the network. And it installed this malicious software on the POS terminals. It was known as a black POS. The malware is called a black POS. And so once the malware was installed, the malware then started to pull all the data. So it's by the time they stole about 40 million credit card details and around 70 million user personal information was collected over 2 months, and it was sent out from the network to these drop sites and finally collected in Russia or something like that. Right. So, I mean, this is again one of the many examples that you'll hear, and there are lots of lessons to learn from this. Okay. Again, a lot of governance issue as well. There's a lot of governance issue here again, and one of which is that they were able to they were able to manipulate the network and all the stuff. So the question is, how does governance help in these kind of scenarios? Now, this sounds very technical, and I'll come back to that. But the question is, who is accountable for this data breach? Any thoughts? So when this 40 million credit card details were stolen, who do you think is ultimately accountable for the data breach?
Board of directors, the owners.
Board of directors and the senior management.
Absolutely correct. So the then chairman and the CEO, he was the same person at the board and the CEO also, and the management also. He had to resign. This happened in December 2013, and by March or May 2014, he had to resign. Okay. Yeah, so, and they hired a CISO after that and so on, but it was a little too late. That's what happens, right? That's what happened. And it's at the end of the day, it's the CEO, it's the chairperson at the very top. And it was the same person. It was easy to fire one person and he had to resign. So a lot of issues again. What went wrong? What went wrong? First of all, would somebody like to try and what went wrong? What could have done here? So who issued the card? The cards. It's a retail store. When customer comes to buy and they swipe the card, the malware in that POS terminal collected that credit card number without everyone knowing it and sent it out to the network. So these are the normal customers buying and making a payment at the POS terminals. Okay. So a lot of mistakes, again, one of which is the network was not segmented, right? Segmentation. So a system with a malware enter the network, that system should never have an access to the entire network. So those simple things were missing. Segmentation was missing. These systems were compromised. It seemed that there was no anti-malware or some mechanisms to detect these things. The credit card details were being sent out for over 2 months. 40 million is not a small number. 40 million records were sent out. There was no proper monitoring. Okay, so this is all part of information security management. The monitoring is part of that. Reporting is part of that. Making sure the network is secure, testing the network, all of that should have been done. So obviously it is all missing, right? So if there was proper security measures taken, then the network should have been segmented in the first place. Proper endpoint security should have been there. Proper monitoring of the network should have been there. So those things are all missing, and that's all part of governance. Proper risk management was missing. Incident management was missing. So that's all part of governance. And as I said, it's the buck stops at the very top. Okay. So things like that. And these are lessons to learn. Obviously, there's a lot to discuss here. We do not have the time. I think we're running short of time. What I will do is I will very quickly pass over this link to you. And whenever you find time, you can read this through. And it's a really good case study. These things just highlights the importance of having proper governance and governance practices and so on. And here is another link for the CISM, what to expect. It covers these 4 different domains and these are the topics that it covers, and you can always go through that. It covers all these concepts of risk assessment and risk response and so on. So I'll just share these links with you, and so I hope I've been able to give you a brief as to what to expect from CISM and so on. And I'm happy to take any questions that you have. I think we're running short of time, but I'll be happy to take any questions.
Yeah, I have a question here that I do not have. I'm doing a career switch. Okay, I'm into another industry, but getting into this cybersecurity. Just presently finished a course from Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, and doing the CISM would help me in my career, as I do not have a technical like cyber background. But yes, management I have.
Around how many years of experience?
See, I was in my own business before, but before that in IT, I have about 4 years. And then again, overall sales experience, if you see, it would be 12.
Okay. Yeah, so I suppose it's not a very technical exam, as I mentioned before. It's not about how are you going to configure a firewall and all the stuff. It's about understanding what and the why, like I said. So I think you should be able to take this exam. If you feel that this is something that's going to help in your career, if you have a career path, and you feel, okay, I need to understand about risk. I need to understand about these things. So it's certainly going to help you. If the technical knowledge is not really required here, it will certainly help you. You need to understand like what is IDS, IPS firewall, basically a basic understanding, and otherwise,
Yeah,
it's
that
not.
I have. I have done a project on NIDS, and the
Okay.
example which you gave in that, I feel if they would have placed NIDS system before the firewall, it would have helped them.
Exactly.
The anomaly and signature-based attacks would have been taken care of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then in that case, I think it may, if you understand these things, I don't think there's a challenge. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I think someone is raised. Nandar, your hand is raised.
Sir, I wanted to ask, I mean, the course duration is 28 days to 30, I mean, nearly a month. So is that time sufficient to book a date for the exam, or will I be requiring more time to prepare for it, given I have a non-technical background?
No, so I mentioned, if you remember, I'll just quickly take you through my presentation again, just a moment. So, hold on just a second. So what I mentioned here is two things. Okay, I hope this is visible. One is you need to become familiar with the CISM job practice areas, and that's what we'll be doing here in the next 1 month or so. And there's a lot of iterative study you'll have to do. I will teach you a particular concept, okay, and let's say I'll teach you about business continuity and disaster recovery. Then you have to go back and study iteratively, understand the concept, come back, test yourself. And once you start scoring about 70-80% on a consistent manner, that is when you would be ready to take the exam. 1 month, is it sufficient? It depends. But I've had people who finished the session on Friday, and Monday they took the exam, passed it. But obviously, they had a lot of experience. They were very senior professionals, CIOs and CTOs and all the stuff. It all is very individual. My sense is if you're not from the background, then you may need a little more time to practice. Maybe take a thumb rule of 3 months, but it could be less, plus minus. It depends on individuals.
Thank you, sir.
Most welcome. Anyone else? Any other questions? I'll be happy to address. If I missed out on any previous chats, I'm sorry, you can bring it up. I think somebody else was also responding to your chats.
Yeah, that was me, Saaz.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much. Anything else I can help you? Any doubts, any concerns?
Hi,
Okay,
good afternoon.
Saaz,
Sorry.
I think, yeah, Adioke is there. Yeah, Adioke, please.
Yes, thank you so much for your time. I just want to ask for this SICM, where can you practice? Can you work in any organization as maybe as in cybersecurity or as information system analyst, or what exactly can one practice the major area?
Are you asking what kind of role would you play after passing the CISM? Is that your question?
Yes. And
Okay.
which can you function as a cybersecurity or information system analyst, or you can fit into any IT job?
Right. So this is a slightly advanced course, which means it's mostly for people who are going to be managing the information security program. So this is will it help an analyst? Maybe yes, maybe not immediately. But this is more from the management point of view. Like, for example, understanding you have to develop policies, you have to develop standards, you'll have to do risk assessment. So these you have to manage incidents. So if these are the kind of responsibilities that you want to get into, or you're already doing it, then this is the course for you. If not, then you may have to think about some other courses like a CEH and so on. So it all depends on what your current responsibilities are. What exactly that you want to get into. Do you want to get into IT management? Then this is the course for you.
Okay, thank you so much. So that means it's not that technical. It's not a technical route.
It's not a technical course. There are no labs. I'm not going to be teaching you how labs and all the stuff. It's not a technical course. So yeah, it's more about having the knowledge to manage IT. Okay.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much. So thank you all for being here with me, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the course. If I guess you plan to join, I'll look forward to, and we can discuss this more in detail. And yeah, so I wish you all the best. And if you have any question, I'm still around, but I will now be signing off and handing over to Subhajit. Thank you so much.